All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to Roads, Rivers, and Trails. This podcast is sponsored by Squarespace, not because they give us any money, but because that makes a successful podcast. So hopefully we catch fire here with Joe Solomon. Joe, thanks for joining us.
Not a problem, Brian. Good to be
here. Because we gotta spread this message. Like, we deserve some of that sponsorship. We talked about this the other day on our phone call. And you were talking about how you wanted nothing more than a big bowl of Skyline chili. And I was like, dude, we need to reach out to these guys for some sponsorship.
Oh, yeah. I'll shout them out again. Hopefully they do contact me and ask me to maybe be on a commercial or something like that. Be pretty cool.
Right. So is that still like the craving of choice right now? Like, man, just pile that cheese high, bring it on.
I don't even want to talk about it right now, Brian.
I love it. Well, because so we're also just talking like you're in a rough spot, right? Like, you're out there, you've been out there for a long time, and we were just talking about how much water you need to drink. So, okay, first of all, excuse me, I'm sorry. Welcome to the page. Welcome to the show. Joe Solomon is paddling the entire Mississippi River, so let's catch you up to speed. He's joined us for 4 or 5 times now. I can't keep track. Live from the river. So you are currently out there. You are currently doing this. You're taking the time out of your evening. Thank goodness you have reception to like clue people into what the experience is like. So yeah, your boat's right there. You're up on a beach in the middle of nowhere, right? You're south of Memphis, and you want to clue people into what this experience is like, help them understand how to get out there, and a little bit about your mission. So hopefully that catches everybody up to speed. That is the 15-second what's up. But Joe, we were just talking about water. It is hot. Tell us about the day.
It's 98 degrees with about 85% humidity. The winds aren't too bad today. They're kind of slack wind, so I've been sweating a lot. But I do have an umbrella that's rigged up to my kayak that I can get out of the sun while I'm paddling. It can be kind of confusing and cumbersome for a little bit until you get that umbrella right. But once it turns right, man, it does sure keep the heat off of you.
And how much water are you like? How do you do that? How do you stay hydrated? How do you stay moving? How much water are you going through? Tell us about that.
I am I'm drinking about 1.5 gallons a day. I have 13 plus a gallon, so I have about 5 gallons on me so that I can last about 3 days without having to stop to get water. And it's nonstop hydrating, man. You can't, like I was telling you before, I'm right at the cusp of being dehydrated every day, and I'm still drinking so much water. It's ridiculous.
And this is, I mean, you started right about when most people would start doing something like this, right? So you started at the north source of the Mississippi, and it was already pretty dry up there. You couldn't have started earlier. Like, you have to go through this hot summer season, no questions asked, right?
Yeah, you can't complain about it either.
Doesn't get you anywhere?
No, it doesn't. That's right. Even when you stop at night, there's always a threat for rain at night, so I have to put my rain fly on my tent. And you just lay in your tent and just boil, water just dripping off from head to toe. My mom told me one night, she was like, Joe, why don't you just go to sleep? Then you won't know you're sweating.
Okay, thanks, Mom. That's some sound advice, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you had no problem sleeping.
What's that?
I'm sure you had no problem sleeping after paddling 40-something miles that day.
Yeah. Sleep isn't the best. Sometimes there's a lot of barge traffic that comes through at night. Those things are pretty loud. And then the river's been rising over the past couple days. So the problem that I've been running into is the water coming up into camp. It didn't come up in the camp this morning because I woke up right before that happened and, vacated everything out of the tent and moved the tent so that it didn't get soaked. But I'd say the river probably rose about 3 or 4 feet last night in the middle of the night. I had pulled everything really far off the shore, and still the water came up to where I was at.
So Joe, is there an app to check that river gauge? I'm used to the smaller rivers that we're kayaking, the Little Miami or whatever. If you're tracking creeks or whitewater, where you can kind of check a river gauge and know what level you're at or what safety level you're at. How do you manage that?
Well, I always look it up on like weather reports. You can also find charts that you can use to see if there's going to be a rise in your area. I have an app called Find Ship. It's like a map basically, and so I know exactly where I'm at all times now, and I can go on weather reports for the area that I'm closest to see what the river levels are supposed to be like.
Yep. Let's backtrack a little bit here. Just to catch everybody up again. So you're more than 2/3 of the way through. Last time we talked, you're 1,600 miles plus. I'm guessing you're closer to 1,700 miles at this point. Where are you? South of Memphis? About how many miles, or about where are you? Clue everybody into what's going on.
Well, I am south of Memphis, pretty far south of Memphis at this point. I'm on the bordering states of Mississippi and Arkansas. I've got about 614 miles to go to mile marker 0, and then it's about another 10 to 15 miles to the Gulf of Mexico. In total, I've probably paddled well over 1,700 miles.
That's remarkable, man. That's super cool.
Yeah, man, it's a long ways. I never when I decided to do this trip, I didn't realize how extremely challenging it was going to be. I knew that I was going to hit weather and have hangups and stuff like that, but I've been out here for quite a while now. It was slow going from the headwaters all the way to St. Louis. There was no current, so it was really super slow going. I was still getting 30 miles a day, but there was with no current. That's hardcore. If I was to do this again, I'd start in early spring. I wouldn't mess around with all this low water in the summertime. Up in Minnesota, they have 100-year lows for water. And when I started, there were record temperatures that were going down. The first night I camped, my shoes were froze to the ground, and the next day it was 101 degrees. So it's been pretty wild, to say the least about it.
So, guys, if you're tuning in, also, we're watching this live. If you want to drop Joe a question, throw it in the comment box. I'm kind of watching the feed there. You kind of want to know what's going on. A question about the Mississippi, a question about his paddle specifically, just drop it in the comment box there, and we'll try to pass it along to Joe if we get it in time. There is a lag on that, so excuse us if we do not get to your question. But otherwise, yeah, drop it in there and let us know what you're thinking and what you want to ask Joe as he's through paddling. Joe, do you hear that a lot? Through paddling? You always talk about through hiking. We talk to a ton of people hiking different trails. You don't talk to people through paddling a lot. You're going the distance without break for the most part, right? Paddling the entire Mississippi.
Yeah. I got flies biting me right now. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, man.
You got to paddle pretty hard so the flies don't bite.
Joe Carroll wants to know, what can you tell us about the personal challenge that this has been? There's so many challenges, but tell us about the personal challenge.
Personal challenge.
Just
I've come so far. I've come so far at this point that the personal challenge to me, I'd have to say this was harder than coming out of a catatonic state, to be honest with you. That was hard, but this is a different kind of hard. the personal challenge I also face is just, making people feel comfortable about talking about mental health, uh, and doing the whole awareness part of this paddle. Um, it's important to me to raise as much awareness as I can, and I feel like I've done a pretty effective job with it. Um, that's probably one of the bigger challenges that I face too, but the conditions that I'm paddling in are extremely challenging as well.
So yeah, there's two big challenges there, and to hit on the first is the more that you talk about it, the more awareness that you raise. And that's your goal, right? To raise awareness for mental health and just kind of get the word out there and talk about your personal experiences and how those kind of follow you on every journey that you take. You're reminded of those challenges that you faced and continue to face.
Yeah.
That's remarkable. And at the same time, you're raising awareness, opening that up for other people, making it more acceptable for other people to talk about and to accept and to get through, and that's part of your goal. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
And then you're facing the physical challenges. And those have been aplenty. Those have been huge. I think from this last section, the thing that strikes me the most is just even the weather. Looking at the weather, like the heavy rains and the heavy winds that you have faced. Like you look at that on a trail, and yeah, okay, a windy, rainy day is a crappy day on a trail, right? Try doing that on a river paddle. Like, tell us about some of the bad weather and the bad days you face with the heavy winds and the heavy rains when doing through paddling.
Well, a couple of weeks ago, we had a storm come through in the middle of the night. It was, well, not middle of the night. It was probably about 11:30. It didn't contain much rain. There was a lot of lightning and wind. The wind was so bad that it collapsed my tent completely. So I had to get a new tent because what it ended up doing, it was warping the poles that connect everything. They got bent, like an S curve bent into them. And when I was in my tent, the wind was so strong that I had to put my back up against the side of the tent to keep it from caving in again. That lasted for about 2 hours straight. They were sustained 50-mile-an-hour winds. It didn't stop. It just kept going. Rattled my nerves quite a bit, for sure.
I want everyone to put themselves in that space real quick. Like imagine a tarp, essentially just a tarp with some aluminum poles, which by the way, Joe just described are collapsing around him. And so a tarp is your guard and your back is supporting it with 50-mile-an-hour winds. So on Joe's journey and with what he's trying to do, we're all sitting home in our AC units and on our, nice plush beds and just imagine that switch, right? Because you go back to regular life and what a switch up that is. You've gone through this progression before, going from paddling the Ohio River back, and then back home, and now back home, back to the Mississippi River in these long paddles. And that transition is not easy. And don't think for 1 second that this is an easy thing to do. Some of the hardest parts about what you're doing isn't the paddling either. It's night after night, sleeping in a tent, and some of those nights your back is supporting the rain fly of the tent in the barrage of winds. That's incredible stuff, man.
Yeah, I made a video and I put it on Facebook. The sand was powder, so it was getting into the tent, and in the video you can see this rush of wind come through the tent and all this dust flying around. And I was trying to grab the ground with my hands. I couldn't grab it to make sure that I didn't blow away, because there were several times where I thought the whole thing was going down. It was pretty wild. And a couple weeks prior to that, I got caught in a heavy downpour at about 8 o'clock in the morning, and then it turned into some severe weather as well. And where I was camped, it was low lying and water came up. I was probably sitting in 3 inches of water inside the tent because I camped in the wrong spot. I chose the wrong spot. I knew I shouldn't have been there, but I did it anyway because it was like the last place I could find to get to bed before dark. And during the height of the storm, I had to get out of the tent with all my gear and throw it up onto higher ground for fear water was going to come rushing through there because there was a flash flood warning going on, and you really don't want to be around a river during a flash flood. So I really didn't know what was coming at me. I kind of panicked a little bit. It was pretty crazy, but I made it through it. I've made it through a lot of stuff like that, but I'm still kicking, still doing it.
Right. Joe, Cindy says you're doing a fantastic job. You're a hero for mental health awareness. Keep on paddling, my friend, and stay safe. It's an honor to have met you. And then,
yeah, Cindy, thank you so much. I really appreciate the love that I get from everybody out here on the river. It's been pretty amazing.
Bill asks, would you recommend someone do this trip with company or alone? And Joe, gosh, perfect question for you because you've done this trip both ways, on and off, and on and off, right? Walk us through, especially, since we spoke last, the past month, paddling solo versus in tandem.
It's fun to have somebody with you, and it's more secure to have somebody with you. If you want to go into town, you can stay with the stuff and they can go into town and get stuff. But to be totally 100% honest about that question, I would rather be alone. I'm experienced kayaker. I wouldn't recommend anybody paddle alone at all. It's dangerous to be out on the water, no matter what water you're in, by yourself. But I'd rather just be alone.
It's just kind of your jam. I think that's a personal question, right? How you
Yeah,
operate, how you're wired.
yeah. And now if you're gonna do it in a canoe or something, that's easier to take two people, but you really got to truly know the person that you're paddling with and know that you're compatible to paddle with each other. Because when it's all one-sided, it's not a good thing. And sometimes it is that way. Or with some of the people that I've paddled with, it was all their choice, and I really hadn't. I had some say in it, but for me, being alone, I can make my own decisions and be on my own timeline.
Well, because you set out for this individual mission. This mission wasn't about could you do this with somebody or what's your compatibility with somebody. It was, you've got a very specific mission. So you're sticking to it, sticking to your guns with that. But you've also had some cool experiences. You started the paddle with some cool people. You paddle with some people in the middle, and you even just finished paddling with the dude Justin, who's paddling for some super super cool missions. And so I think what I'm getting at and what that's about is that the people that you're meeting along the way, that even if you go solo, no different than if you're hiking solo, you're not always alone, right?
No,
So
not at all. I mean, I could say that I'm a solo paddler or alone. It depends on how you word it, but I'm never just totally alone. I may go 4 or 5 days without seeing another human, but I'm not alone because there are people that are reaching out to me when I'm idle, asking if I need help further downriver. There's a river angel at like mile 535. That's about a day and a half left of paddling to get there, and I'm trying to hustle there because I got dirty clothes. I haven't showered in days, and I can smell my own funk, and I don't like it. So river angels all over the entire Mississippi River from top to bottom have taken really good care of me. These folks will give you the shirt off their back, literally, so that you're comfortable and that you complete your successful mission. River angels have done a lot for me out here on the river. And I think I'm going to write a book about river angels instead of writing an adventure book about this trip. They really touched my life, and at the same time, I've touched a lot of their lives too. And these are folks that I'm going to go back and visit again someday, you know, like especially with my next project. I'm not going to talk about it too much until I'm done with this, but it involves a school bus and traveling the country. So,
Well, I kind of want to hit on that, but first, Zach says, "Stay safe and keep up the good work." And you answered one of Bill's questions. Bill asked again if you were going to write a book about this, and I love your take on it, Joe. That yeah, you'd like to write about this, but not, again, you're kind of taking the spotlight off of yourself, and you're always highlighting these different organizations or different issues. And again, you want to highlight the River Angels, and I want to ask you about those in a second too. But there's so much of the experience that you're enjoying and that you want to talk about outside of your personal adventure. And the River Angels have been very kind to you. So that's amazing.
unbelievably kind. It kind of chokes me up a little bit sometimes, man.
Uh,
Good
gosh,
people.
some great questions going on here, Joe. We're getting good interaction. I like this question. Kara wants to know, you ever get in the river to wash up?
I've only swam in the river once, and no, I won't wash up in the river. It's dirty water. When I take a shower, wash up, I want clean water to do that with. So I'll just get funky over a week or two and then jump in a shower somewhere.
Right? Right. Yeah. I mean, it'd be tough to feel clean getting out of there. I mean, I guess just a splash of water or something may be better than not, but you're downriver, you're down from a lot of cities at this point. It's not the freshest feeling of water, you're saying?
No, not at all. There, there's a slime to it because I washed sand off my legs yesterday and there's a slime to the water. I don't know. If I'm really desperate, I'll swim in it, but I haven't done that a lot either.
Oh man, what about some of the tributaries that like dump into it? You ever just paddle upstream to some fresher water and some of those, maybe less polluted or whatever it is. I'm
I'll,
just
I'll,
picturing the little Miami dumping in and just feeling fresh.
I- I'll be honest about that. Um, I'm in a zone during the day. I'm keeping my eyes forward and to the left and the right. I have missed almost every single tributary that comes into the Mississippi because I'm not I'm paying attention to what's in front of me, not what's coming out from the sides.
Yeah.
Uh
Oh man.
so I've missed a lot of tributaries because of that, because I'm paying attention to what I'm doing. And yeah, I did see the Ohio River and the Missouri River. Those are the two that came rushing in, and it's like, oh, I got a wave. Let's go. And so uh, the Missouri was kind of sketchy. When it comes into the Mississippi, it's real sketchy. I got caught in a giant swirl, and it had a mouth on it pretty wide, and my kayak started doing spins in the middle of the river, and there's barges around, and you can't do anything when you hit them. You just got to lift your paddles up and let it go, and you'll float out of them. But oh boy.
Whew. So is that something you've noticed? You've noticed it as you come downstream, um, the water quality change drastically?
Well, yeah, I mean, up north it's pristine. Down here it's muddy. uh that's why it's like a big muddy river, you know. Close to the shores the water looks pretty clear, but you can't see very far down.
Yeah.
But north it's a lot more clear where the water is.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. That's what I would have guessed, but it changes the paddle, and I'm sure it changes your perspective as you go down. Just kind of puts a damper on things if it gets too muddied up, I'm sure. But let's talk about some of the trail
Yeah.
angels. So we talked just a few days ago trail angels, or my mind is the river angels. We talked a few days ago, and you were held up in a super unique place. You were in like, is it like a shipping yard, or is like a manufacturing like complex on like the ship inside the shipping container? Like I was afraid you were just gonna like fall asleep and end up on a boat out to sea. You've had right? You've had some unique angel experiences. Catch us up on that, and then I want to ask you, or go ahead and just spill that into meeting Dale too, because that I think that's a really cool story. So catch us up to speed on some of the angel occurrences.
Yeah, so we met a gentleman in downtown Memphis. He has a warehouse where he makes hardware for bones. So if you break a leg, he has the hardware. He makes the hardware, machines it, that they put into your body to, fix your bones. He, I guess, one of the machines that he has in his warehouse came in a giant metal shipping container, and so he totally cut a hole out of the back of it, put an air conditioner in it inside the warehouse, and we slept in a shipping container. Coolest little experience I've ever had. The guy's name's Tom. He's a cool guy himself. He did all of this right before we got there. So, and then I guess his production manager got mad at him and said, "What is this, a hostel now?" Uh,
Oh
like,
no!
yeah, yeah. So he was like, "Hey guys, just be on the down low." So we couldn't really walk around or anything. It was kind of hot in there anyway, but yeah, man, the shipping container. I slept in a shipping container. I've slept in pretty much anything and everything you can sleep in since I've been on the river.
Hey, a shipping container you don't have to put your back against to keep from the wind, blowing
No,
over, right?
we were safe from the thunderstorms that came through that day.
So how did you get from there to Dale? Super cool guy you met along the way. Super lucky coincidence. How did you come across him? Tell us about him.
Yeah, so there's a river angel in Memphis. His name's Dale Sanders. He is 86 years old. Ow.
Guys, you
He's
have to
eight.
look this guy up. Joe, sorry. Keep going. Tell us about Dale.
Yeah, Dale is a gray bearded 60 or 86-year-old man. He holds, I think, 4 or 5 Guinness Book of World Records. Uh, Somebody took his oldest man paddling the Mississippi River last year. So next year on his birthday, he is going to paddle the whole Mississippi again to reclaim his world record. He's done a rim to rim to rim. He's done the entire AT trail, and he's got this nice little minivan that's got a bed in it. And he came and picked us up in it, and he just travels all over the country doing adventures. I think it's, what's the website? Do you have that handy, Brian? It's graybeardedadventurer.com, I think.
You know what? Well, I was just going to link in. What I was going to say is check the comments. I'm looking in the Adventure Journal. I love Adventure Journal. It's sweet. And they did a whole story on Dale Sanders, and it talks about his Grand Canyon rim to rim, Mississippi paddle, AT through hike. I haven't been to his official website yet, actually. That's something I haven't seen, so I'll look that up as well.
Yeah, he is a living legend, straight up. The guy is a legend, and we got to meet him. I got to sign his wall inside of his house. It's all these paddlers that have come through have signed his wall. There's legends all over that wall, and apparently someday there's a museum, a paddlers museum, that wants to take his wall and cut it out and put it in the museum. So I was able to sign that, and that's pretty awesome in my book.
That's awesome. That reminds me of Kinkora Hostel, Bob Peoples. That his hostel, man, deserves to be in a museum. That's along the AT, and he supports so many through hikers in the trail itself with trail magic and trail maintenance, and everyone sends postcards back, and he puts it in the rafters of his hostel. And dude, that needs to be just cut out and preserved forever. Like the impact is so profound. And so Graybeard reminds me of this guy. Um, that's super cool. And for you to come across and you like have a conversation with them and just chat with them, that's cool.
We went out to lunch with him and did our laundry at his house, and he gave us a tour of his house, and he's got a little Airbnb at his house that he's going to go ahead and, have paddlers stay in there. It was pretty nice. Yeah, Dale Sanders is a stand-up guy, and I'm thankful that I was able to meet him while I was on the river.
So Joe, you text me right away and you're like, I want to buy him a shirt, and we sent him an RRT shirt. So I put a little note in there. I said, hey man, if you wear this shirt on the trail, on the river, wherever you're at, I'd love to see a pic of it. So we'll see if we get a picture back of Dale Sanders wearing the RRT logo, and that'd be pretty sweet. So,
well, he was looking at my shirt and he's like, I want to know about RRT. He was like, river trails, that's what I like.
Right, that's him.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
So
I mean, I would be flat. I put a note in there. It's like, dude, I'd be so flattered. I'd be so honored. Like you wear this shirt out somewhere, we'd be stoked. So one of those cool people that you come across on your journey, and so many of these journeys. And when we do these interviews and we talk about what you're out there doing, there's so many facets of it, and the people is such a huge part of it that is so easily overlooked. You're looking at the landscape, you're looking at the mileage, but the people so much are really what's making your journey, what makes so many journeys. And he's a part of it, so that's cool.
Yeah, sorry about the camera movement all over the place. I'm getting attacked by flies. So
you're good. I feel so bad. Like here we are. I'm in my kitchen, like it's cool. I'm sipping on iced coffee, and poor Joe's drinking warm water and getting bit by flies. I truly am sorry. I've been in your shoes before. I'm sorry.
Flies are absolutely useless. They are just totally useless.
I need to get you. We need to send you out a care package with some repellent or something, man.
I have some, but I can't go all the way down to my kayak, or else I'll lose reception, and then this would be over.
So you're just getting eaten alive just for the sake of the interview. I want everyone listening at home to know that. Well, Joe, while we've got you, let's talk about, because I don't want to keep you too long. One, I don't want you to get eaten alive. And two, you got to get about your day and get camp set up and get your meal set up and everything. But tell us about, you're wearing the hat. We touched on it, but you're doing this for so many causes, mental health awareness, but also the Adventure Crew. You're raising money for Adventure Crew. Tell us about that mission.
Yeah, so the reason why I decided to raise money for Adventure Crew is because they have staff on with the crew that can notice mental health conditions in the teens that they serve. And they also are helping these teens' mental health conditions by taking them out into nature to go fishing, camping, hiking, biking, skiing, anything that has to do with the outdoors. The nonprofit Adventure Crew takes inner city youth in Cincinnati out into nature. And so that really touched me. Mental health is important for me to raise awareness, but it's also important for the teens of the city of Cincinnati to get out into nature, because really all they see is four walls in the city. They don't know much about what surrounds our city, with like the Little Miami River, the Great Miami River, the Ohio River. There's a lot of wildlife and a lot of things going on around these rivers. And the Adventure Crew is really, I think they do amazing work on taking kids out into nature to help their mental health, as well as, intervene if they have to at any point. And that's why I decided to raise money for them, because, to me, what they're doing is pretty amazing. And I can't wait to get back home and do some volunteering with them, with the kids, when I'm done with this journey.
Joe, that'd be awesome. I think they'd love that too. Getting involved when you get home and everything would be super cool. And you nailed it spot on. Such an amazing organization. And the bottom line is we need youth that cares about our outdoors or our environment. And everyone deserves that shot to enjoy the outdoors and to get outside and participate in all these different activities. And so that mission is all encompassed, with the adventure crew, and such a great organization. I included a link in there to the crew champions, so I'll link to you. And we've talked to some of the other crew champions that are out on different trips right now. Jason Voss out on the CDT, and you could donate through that link as well. So definitely please check that out, and support Joe through his mission of supporting the adventure crew. It'd be awesome.
Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, good. Thank you. You're the one sitting in the woods getting eaten by flies. Don't thank me.
Yeah,
Um,
like, you have to paddle faster so the flies won't bite you.
hey, let's make that's a shirt, right? Because we've seen the paddle faster. I hear banjos. It's forget the banjos, man. Banjos, like I'm paddling up to the banjos, like, hey, what concert's going on? Like,
Yeah,
I'm
I know.
slowing down. Paddle faster. I hear the buzzing of man-eating flies. Like that's more like it.
I've kind of gotten used to bugs. Bugs don't bother me too much. The mosquitoes are terrible. It's hard to fall asleep at night because they're so loud. But you know, just deal with it. You put your tent up before the sun goes down and get in it before the sun goes down.
Yep. Well, I want to leave with this thought and this kind of one more question for you, Joe, and I'll let you go. You are mostly through this. You're three-quarters of the way through this. You're crushing the miles. The miles are starting to pick up more. So, like, time-wise, you're more than three-quarters of the way through, I feel like, because you're three-quarters through the miles, but you're doing more miles per day. You know, and that when you sit back and you think about that, what a long journey it is and how much you have left. Of course, you have some significant distance to cover, but like, you're mostly through this, and you start thinking about the end. You start mentally thinking about this whole thing differently, um, and what it will be like to finish. You can get emotional about it, right? Like, what is it going to be like to finally finish this giant task that you have set out to do? What kind of mental state does that put you in now? Are you thinking about that a lot? Put us in your shoes.
Yeah, yeah. I've been crying a lot lately, and I don't want to cry right now, so I'm not going to talk about it. I
It's
don't
okay,
want.
bro. It's okay.
I want it to end, but at the same time, I don't, because a lot of adventurers go through some serious depression after their journeys. So I have to consume myself with other things when I'm done, so that I don't have to deal with that too much. And I feel like my life is gonna, be a little different when I'm done with this. There may be opportunities that arise that I haven't had before, and so I'm excited about that. But I hate to be done, because I've been feeding off of this river for 83 days now. And when it all comes down to it, I have about 12 days worth of paddling left. Uh,
Wow. Who?
not being around river angels anymore. Yeah, it just, I don't know, man. It's really hard. And the amount of love that I've received from people through my Facebook page, and folks just being on the river, talking to them and stuff, it's been wild. And I don't want it to end, but at the same time, it's about time it does.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's taxing on you, it's wearing on you. It's a long journey. You need it to be over, and at the same time, it's going to take a swing. Um, mentally, your mentality around it needs to swing, because Joe, you need to think about it like you're leaving the river and you're leaving the angels, but you're not really, because you're now part of it. You are that angel. You're going to be an angel whether it's on the river or on the trail. And I love that, you know, just to touch on it, I want to talk to you more about this later, but this is going to be like a whole nother interview. We got to talk about surf and turf. We got to talk about the bus. We got to talk about how you're taking this experience, and it's not over. Oh, it's not over, because I'm with you. When you leave the trail, you know, you kind of feel like this whole segment of your life is left behind, or this whole reality, to be honest, is left behind. Like you're thrown this loop, and I want to tell you that it's not. It's not left behind. You're taking it with you, and you're part of it, Joe, and you're an amazing part of it. And this whole journey is only going to continue and has bigger and better things in store for you and everybody that you come across because of this journey that you took. I'm really excited for everything to come, man. And this is just a step. Ohio River was a step. This is a step. You continue to take these big steps, and you have bigger and brighter things ahead, my friend.
Thanks.
I really appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate you too, bro.
I mean, dude, really look forward to it, man. I am so excited for what lies ahead for you. And this is going to be, I know it's going to be bittersweet. It's going to be a bittersweet closing with the Mississippi. I know it is. It always is. Every trip wears on you and beats you down, but you rise up, right? And you always rise up. So
thanks, man.
Totally. This is I hope everyone at home gets like how big of a deal it all is, and everything like that. And it's hard to understand it until you're in the shoes, what it's like to commit to something and then have to let it go like this. It's so bittersweet.
Yeah.
Mike says, tell Joe I said hello. Got to meet him for a few minutes a week ago. Bohannon. Miller Davis says, we will meet again, Joe. Much love to you.
Thank you.
And Carol, I love you, and see you soon, Joe. So we're getting all the love on Facebook, all the love for you to continue and push you along your journey.
Heck yeah.
So, Joe, I'm going to let you go, man. I feel like that
I got back paddling, man. These flies are biting me. I got to go fast.
I know. Go get your bug spray. We're going to talk again soon, man. It was a lot of fun. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to cut the recording, guys. Everybody, thanks for tuning in, and keep an eye out for more events and when we're going to catch up with Joe again soon. So we'll see ya. Peace, everybody.
See ya.